Press the attack. Relentless aggression. Destroy your enemy. Use your overwhelming power to break them down to their knees. How many times have we seen this to be the philosophy of any great Sith warrior? Many that wield the dark side live and die by this philosophy. All aggression, all of the time when it comes to lightsaber combat. But could there be an intrinsic flaw in this? Is there a better way? There were many experienced Sith Lords who thought much differently than this. One of those was Darth Bane, one of the greatest duelists that the galaxy has ever seen, and a very underrated duelist. Greetings again, Acolytes of the Force, and welcome back to the archives. Of the lightsaber forms most popular among the Sith, you'll find many practitioners of Gemso, Ataru, Juyo, and Makashi more than anything else. These forms are created for the purpose of dueling and decimating opponents in single combat. However, what you will not find is many using the third form of lightsaber combat, Soresu. Soresu was known to be the most defensive of all of the forms, but there was one Sith Lord who would completely reform the order and bring it to ultimate victory, one who saw incredible use of Form 3 in defense. In fact, Darth Bane loved the form so much that he would employ it into his own style, and would teach it to his apprentice Zannah, encouraging her to make it her primary form. So why was this? Why is one of the most famous and dangerous Dark Lords of the Sith ever appreciated a Jedi form so much? Well, there is plenty to cover here, including the brilliance of Lord Bane. So now, let us begin. First though, we have sensed a great disturbance in the Force. Many individuals who use our archives and watch our videos have not yet subscribed to our order. So if this pertains to you, it is your destiny to subscribe. We have foreseen it. The first thing that we need to make clear is that it wasn't as though no Sith had ever used Form 3 before Bane, and it appears as if among the Sith it was not forbidden at all, despite being developed by the Jedi. Most of the other forms in fact were developed by Jedi. That doesn't mean though that the Sith didn't deem this to be the weakest of all of the forms, and embody everything that it did not mean to be a Dark Lord. Domination, power, the ability to conquer. None of this has to really do with Soresu at all. Soresu was nearly entirely defense. Master Obi-Wan Kenobi is the greatest Soresu wielder of all time, and Soresu was more popularized once there were more blaster-wielding foes in the galaxy. Every Jedi and Sith knew the basics of blast deflection pretty much as well as they know the power of the Force. However, those who practice Form 3 go all the way from blast deflection to becoming basically untouchable on the battlefield. But blast deflection is far from Soresu's greatest strength. Form 3 would prove excellent in lightsaber combat, utilized by individuals who were anticipating facing an opponent much stronger than they were, using circular footwork, energy-conservative movements, and continuous orbital blade motions. Soresu masters weave a shell of defense around them. It is said that a Soresu master's defense is nearly impossible to break. It is also strong against both single as well as multiple attackers, unlike most of the other forms which are usually weak to one or the other. However, it is a glaring weakness in this form that also makes it so strong. The obvious focus slowly on the art of defense. This is the largest issue that any Sith had. They believed that they needed to be the aggressors, that they deserved to be the aggressors, and to rightfully claim what was theirs. To defend anything from the start beyond themselves seemed pointless, going against what it truly meant to be a Dark Lord at all. They take what they need, they do not stand by and wait for others to react. The galaxy is forced to react to the Sith's own power. Soresu keeps someone completely on the back foot, with the idea being that their opponent will eventually slip up and have an opening in their guard, counting on your enemy to make a mistake. This would be when a Soresu wielder would strike. More experienced wielders of Form 3 will learn to create those openings for themselves, but the problem lies in the fact that Soresu wielders often find themselves in the position of needlessly drawn out duels. Even the Jedi had desired more offensive options, which is how the 5th form Xian was eventually developed. Even the Jedi believed that it was too defensive-minded. It was extremely difficult for a Sith to adopt a form that would not give them very many options for the kill, or one that would keep them on the back foot. Especially the Sith of Bane's era, who cared a great deal for appearances and never wanted to look weak, because weakness meant death. However, Darth Bane tossed away all pretense the moment he took the title of Darth. From that point on, he was a contrarian, and he would use whatever he found useful. The most powerful thing about Darth Bane as a person was his approach to basically everything in life. both people and objects. His philosophy was a simple one. If it was useful, take advantage of it. If it was useless, discard it. If there was one thing Lord Bane never had, it was sentimentality. Though when he did find something or someone useful, he put his best effort into making sure that it worked for him. Bane may have looked like a lumbering brute at first glance, but this is what made him dangerous. It was Bane's ideologies of prioritizing trickery and cunning above all else that made him an exceptional threat. It was Bane's raw power that got him through the door, and it was noted that Bane did primarily use Gem So, the most aggressive form of lightsaber combat besides Juyo. However, Bane made Soresu his secondary and weaved it effortlessly into his style. This gave him the best of both worlds, the overwhelming power in offensive Form 5, with the strength to batter and destroy his opponents to pieces, with the fortification of Form 3. Bane married these two styles so well that it was believed that he was invincible at the height of his power. Bane mastered both forms to their highest degree, and he was able to smash through anyone's defenses effortlessly while remaining untouched by a single blade. And for the record, this was after he got rid of the Orbalisk armor, the armor that protected him. This is when Bane was truly at the height of his dueling power. While Bane appreciated the subtle advantage that it gave him in combat, he was even more impressed when someone actually used the style because it suited them. Bane liked the defensive style to be sure, but the thing he loved most about Soresu was its potential for cunning action. He had encouraged his apprentice in Zannah to take up the form because it was best suited for her small frame. Zannah, being much smaller than Bane, used this perfectly and effortlessly as well. Bane encouraged her to use her smaller stature to her advantage by being agile and defensively minded while studying Sith sorcery to channel spells, with the sorcery being her offensive option. Zannah did something interesting that is pretty uncommon. She used Form 3 with a saber staff. Ironically, most don't think to use the saber staff for the defensive form at all, believing that its broad nature would impede the type blade work required for Form 3. However, the added blade actually made for a more solid wall of defense whenever she began to spin it in an intricate pattern. It certainly is interesting that Bane would even bother with Soresu to begin with, as in his own writings in the Book of the Sith, he states that there is great value in ending fights quickly, and it was ideal to break an opponent down as quickly as possible by pure strength, and that the Sith should only focus on forms that cultivated aggression. In his chapter in the Book of the Sith, Lord Bane does not mention Soresu a single time. And yet, he put a large emphasis on it during his lifetime, as well as with his apprentice. But perhaps this is because Darth Bane always wanted an edge over other Sith Lords, a prominent theory that I agree with. Darth Bane had taught Zannah so well that she was able to keep up with him and stifle his aggressive movements in their duel for the title of the Dark Lord. Although of course Bane was the superior duelist, it's impressive at all that Zannah was able to keep him off her back, if only momentarily. Of course though, Bane was indomitable, and Zannah had to use sorcery in order to defeat him. Lord Bane deeply appreciated Form 3 despite its normal Jedi use, and again, it's quite interesting that he was a contrarian by nature, even down to his blade work. Lord Bane's greatest strength was he was completely unashamed of anything he did for the betterment of the Sith and for the dark side, even if it was something that the Jedi cultivated. But anyway, my friends, what are your thoughts on this? What are your thoughts on Darth Bane's insight into Form 3? The same form, of course, of the negotiator, Obi-Wan Kenobi. What are your thoughts on Lord Bane's ideologies? And of all of the individuals in Star Wars, who do you think would give Darth Bane a run for his money? Thank you as always, my friends, for visiting the channel today. May the Force be with you always, and I hope that you're having an absolute great one.